Welcome back to Space Arena Ground Arena, where we cover Star Wars Unlimited from the ground up into space. I'm Banana Crapshoot, and today we're going to look at some decks that you can play in set 3 early that are building on what's already established from sets 1 and 2. So last week I put out a video of some brand new decks that you can play and have success with early. So go check that video out, and today we're going to look at established decks that we're updating for set 3. So the first one we're going to look at is Sabine ECL. She's been the boogeyman, the aggro queen since set 1. That's not changing, I don't think, in set 3. So the list is pretty standard Sabine list. The major updates are adding Anakin's Interceptor, which is the 2-cost 2/3 space unit, and when your base has 15 or more damage on it, it gets +2 attack power, so it becomes a 4/3 in the late game. And then we're also adding Jesse, who is a 3-cost 4/4 with raid 1, so he's a 3-cost and he's attacking for 5. And when played, he gives your opponent 2 battle droid tokens. We don't really care about the battle droid tokens because we're racing, so getting a 5 attack unit on 3 resources is very strong. Those are the main updates. I have Shock T in the sideboard right now because she's a pretty good ECL target. At a 3/4, she's okay. Right, the 3/4 is okay, but on attack, her creating a clone trooper, that's a 2/2, so you get 2 bodies for 4. So you get like a 5/6 worth of value for 4. On the sideboard, I got Precision Fire to give a Saboteur to get around some Sentinels. Heroic Resolve for some more reach. Echo Base Defender for the mirror. Riken is a good ECL target, especially in the mirror. But other than that, the list is pretty standard. The only non-heroic cards in our main deck are the Darksaber, Timely Intervention, and Daring Raid. So everything else should hit on for a cause pretty consistently. In the sideboard, everything's heroic except for Precision Fire. So take that into account when you're siding in and out, but Sabine ECL is still solid. Didn't lose anything, obviously, and we gained some more tools with Anakin's Interceptor as a good late game space unit to help close. And then Jesse is another really good mid game body for the aggro rush. So that's Sabine with ECL. The next one saw some good success in early set 2. Kind of fizzled out when the bigger tournaments started, but the Mono Palpatine set 3, I think, is pretty strong. So this list, 3 copies of Salacious Crumb, 3 Yularen, 3 Confederate Couriers, 3 Poggle the Lesser, 3 Droid Deployment, 3 Royal Guard, 3 Resupply, 3 Super Laser Tech, 3 Magna Guard Wing Leader, 3 Manufactured Soldiers, 3 copies of Command, 3 Overwhelming Barrage, 2 Traders, 3 Maul, 3 Hellfire Tanks, 3 Invisible Hands, 3 Gores. And then in the sideboard, 2 Scanning Officer, 2 Private Manufacturing, 2 Star Vipers, 2 Vaders, and 2 Walkers. And with this one, we're going with the 24 health new rare base droid manufacturing, because when you deploy your leader, you get 2 battle droid tokens. So with Palpatine, when he deploys, we're getting 4 bodies on his deploy. So we're getting Palpatine, we're getting 2 battle droids, and we're getting the unit that he's stealing from our opponent. So it's a huge swing, getting 4 bodies for just deploying. Can struggle into aggro, really have to lean into Yularen and Crumb, along with the Royal Guard, with either Yularen or Poggle, since those are both officials, they both turn on the Sentinel. But getting healing from Yularen and playing green units. And then we can really leverage Palpatine's ability by droid deployment and manufactured soldiers giving us battle droid tokens, Poggle giving us battle droid tokens, the courier giving us battle droid tokens. We can really leverage those and use Palpatine's ability to draw and to ping damage. And then we're set up for some good exploiting with Hellfire Tank and Gore in the mid to late game, because we're going to have so many battle droid tokens out and so many other units out that we can exploit these big boss monsters in. Magna Guard Wing Leader gives us a decent space unit, and it gives us some action economy since you can attack with multiple droid units. Once a turn with that command, we obviously have the ramp with command, resupply, and super laser tech, and then we have our like healing package with Yularen, Salacious Crumb, and then Emperor's Royal Guard for Sentinel unit. And then in the sideboard, we have some more healing with the Star Viper and with Reinforcement Walker. But I think Gore, Hellfire Tank, Invisible Hand, those are pretty cool late game units to play. And this base might end up being terrible, but so far it's been fun for me being able to drop 4 bodies on the deploy turn. And with the amount of ramp you have in here, you can, as long as you get a couple healing early and some good pings with Palpatine, you can keep up. Definitely the hardest matchup is definitely aggro. That's never going to change for Palp, but really solid otherwise. Next one we're going to look at is another mono deck. This one's mono Boba Fett, also running the new base that gives him +1 attack, so 5/7. This deck also really hasn't changed too much. I don't know that the main board's really changed at all from what I was running previously. The main, I have the Elite P-38 Starfighter in the sideboard, and that one is the one that's 3/2, and when played and when defeated, you can deal a damage to a unit. But other than that, this is all set 2 or set 1 stuff. The main thing is we're swapping in the new base to give Boba Fett 5 attack power. But yeah, Mono Boba, still good in set 3. Who would have thought that a leader that allows you to ready resources and play with more cards than our opponent would be good? And now he's even stronger on deploy. So instead of a 4/7, he's a 5/7. So he's an even bigger problem to deal with. But yeah, that's the set 3 Mono Boba. Like I said, nothing in the main deck is really changed from where I had it in set 2. Sideboard swapped out a little bit with that new space unit in there. But Mono Boba still good. Who would have thought? Next up, we have one of my favorite new decks that was in set 2 was the Hantu ECL deck. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it had good play into most of the decks in the meta for set 2. So some updates from where my previous list was, but the additions are 2 copies of Anakin's Interceptor, just like with Sabine. The 4 attack in the mid-late game is really strong. Adding 3 copies of Shock T here, 1 copy of Ayla, and 2 copies of Anakin. You can mess with those how you want, but I think between the 2 of them, I like that slot being between Ayla and Anakin. I like both those units, so I'm playing with which one I like more in the 2 and more in the 1. Then everything else is pretty much the same from how I had it in set 1. Do have tech in the sideboard, but yeah, so this list is a lot of fun, being able to cheat boss monsters out early. I really like Sundari Peacekeeper is an awesome turn 1 play in this deck, and I definitely wouldn't play this deck without Sundari Peacekeepers because, especially against aggro decks, being able to restore against Sabine like from turn 1 does so much to slow her down that we can really get ahead in the damage race because we're just healing all the damage that she's trying to do to us the first couple rounds. ECL targets, obviously, there's some really good ones here. K2SO, Shock T, Poe, Ayla for coordinates online is a really good one. Riken and Wrecker. There's so many good ECL targets here. And then we have a really good late game with home ones and crate dragons, so we can dominate, really. So we can ramp between Spark of Hope and Resupply, and then Han's ability to cheat units out. We can just play better units faster than our opponent, and getting to home 1 and crate is GG's for us. Next one we're going to look at is my first true love, Han 1 with command. Updated for set 3. I still really liked it in set 2. In set 3, it's still really good. So the main updates here are adding the new R2 unit that allows us to fix our hand. So when played, you can discard a card from your hand and then look at the top 3 cards of your deck, pick one, add it to your hand, and the other ones go in your bottom of the deck in a random order. Keeping the Tech and Sundari, right? Sundari is, again, awesome. You can play this on turn 1. Tech gives us access to our whole deck. In the resource row, Ahsoka is a pretty good unit here. I like the 3/4 stat that's possible on turn 1. Most of the time, her ambush isn't going to be relevant for us. What's going to be relevant is a 3/4 body on turn 1 so that we can trade with whatever the first turn aggro play is and survive. 2 copies of Shock T. Again, the on attack ability to create a clone trooper is really strong. 2 copies of Rex. So when played, he creates 2 clone trooper tokens, and he's a 4/4, and clones are 2/2. So for 6, he's giving us an 8/8 value, which is really strong. And then the other new addition is Clone, which is the 7-cost 0/0 that lets you copy the stats of a non-vehicle unit. But it's considered like a vanilla copy of it, but still being able to clone like a Crate Dragon or a Maul, or something like that, or a Reinforced Walker. Some, can be really strong to steal those stats on a unit. And then in the sideboard, Gore. I added Gore to the sideboard because he is a really good unit, I think. And if we have some Greedos out and R2s in the late game, I don't think we care about sacrificing them to get a good unit on the board. DJ lives in the sideboard for me. He has all set too. He'll continue to live there. And then Ayla in the sideboard. But yeah, this unit, kind of like the Han 2 ECL deck, you're looking to outvalue your opponent by playing better units faster with his ability. This one, I have Tech in the main deck because this one we're sacrificing our hand to get ahead in that unit battle. So having access to our resources is a good way to counterbalance that. And then we have some reach with the Blaster. The Millennium Falcon, the 6-drop, is a really good space unit, especially in the games where something happens to Han where you don't get to your 7-round turn on 5, but you only get to 6. We have some really good options between Reek the Falcon and Rex to still get units on the board. Rex is almost like a mini U-Wing because he gives us 3 bodies for 6, and the U-Wing gives us 3 bodies for 7. Up to 3 bodies for 7. Rex gives us 3 bodies for 6, so he's a really good alternate plan for when your Han gets stifled, and you don't get to go to 7 resources if you're looking to do that on that big turn. I don't always go from 5 to 7. I've said it before. Depending on how the game goes, I'll try to go from 6 to 8, so that on the 6 resource turn, I'm dropping a home 1, so I can get a home 1 and another 3-drop unit, or that or the Reinforced Walker. Either of those on 6 are usually game breaking, depending on how you're going. So that's Han 1. And then the last one we're going to look at was my favorite deck from set 2, and that's Cad Bane with Tarkin Town. The updates here are political pressure, because it gives us discard or units. Grenade Strike is really good with Cad Bane because it deals 2 damage to a unit, and then you can deal 1 damage to another unit in the same arena. That sets up Tarkin Town. It also pairs really well with Cad's ability to ping damage. And then 0 is another good addition. So when played, you can exhaust a unit that the player controls, and then on attack, you can exhaust a resource. So it's a nice control piece. And then 0, if you can 0 into Xanadu, back-to-back turns, they're playing on -2 resources the rest of the game, which when you're on 6 resources and now you can only play with 4, that's a huge swing to your opponent. So that's a no-joke combo, 0 Xanadu, and then 2 copies of the new Cad Bane unit to really capture and slow down our opponent. Everything else is pretty much where I had it from set 1. But yeah, the main additions are Political Pressure, Grenade Strike, 0, and Cad Bane. And then the sideboard, I think, is almost the same, except for I used to have Frozen and Carbonite main deck. But that is my new Cad Bane deck. I'll try to do updated, more in-depth deck profiles for each of these decks. I just wanted to do a quick overview of 5 or 6 decks from set 2 that I enjoyed that we can build and make better and have success with early in set 3. So that's it. Thanks, and have a good one.